Hello, I'm Robert Green, and I am a champion for equality for all working class families. Growing up in Texas, I would hear stories from my relatives about the hardships of growing up poor, black in America. As I grew older, my ancestors' stories were different from those of children born into economic privilege. In America, perspectives have skewed to economic upbringings, and it's due to the years of policies directing the discourse between the wealthy and the lower class families. On a global scale, the United States is one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Statistically, it has the most enormous wealth gap amongst many developed industrial countries. The social norms relative to the subject of wealth gap inequality are how Americans speak on poverty in media. Within a capitalist society, it is unpopular to be poor, it is frowned upon to need assistance. Many Americans Many American norms have vilified the use of mixed zoning for housing, subsidies from the government, and asking for higher pay as the price of living goes up. The days of the American dream have been pushed aside for greed and exploding poverty. The way to combat and communicate message of wealth inequality is through action research. As action research actively applies the principles of challenging wealth inequality within the community to make sure the community has solutions. For example, local legislators increasing the access to public transit and lowering the transit prices can allow residents to focus their hard earned money on quality of life items such as groceries, food, sports, entertainment, and childcare. My strategy for communicating this with stakeholders is comparing and contrasting the United States with foreign countries of similar GDP or gross domestic profit. Then allowing the stakeholders to input ideas on how to better solve wealth inequality. For example, giving opportunities for companies, legislators, and other entities to put their input on what could solve the wealth inequality. And finally, the digital media exposure as a tool to promote communication ideas, ideas that combat wealth gap, that increase the wealth of all individuals. Growing up, my parents would always say, a rising tide raises all boats. I think that taking the approach to each community by bettering each individual from low income to high income allows us to close the gap of poverty and eventually build a better community altogether. Thank you.